Hi everybody, this is Bogus Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the brand new NECA TMNT Archie Comics Krang Shredder figure. So before we take a look at Krang Shredder, let's go ahead and take a look at all of the accessories that he comes with. So first up, he comes with a set of open hands. Up next, he comes with this bonsai tree, and it's surprisingly detailed for such a tiny piece. You get some nice black painted on lines there that are really tiny, and it's hard to see, but all of the parts right here have this really subtle texturing to it. So yeah, surprisingly, this has some really cool sculpt and paint detail to it for its being such a tiny piece. Up next, he comes with a set of fisted hands, and I like how they painted the black lines in between his fingers there. That looks pretty cool. I will say they are kind of tricky to switch out, because the pegs are very tiny. Whenever you pop them out, they feel like they could snap, so definitely be careful when you're changing these out. Up next, he comes with alternate hands with the blades on the backs of them. And this looks really cool. I'm really torn on how I want to display this, because I think these look really cool, but I also want him to hold his accessory. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. There's some black painted lines around the blades and on the part up here on top of his hand. That looks pretty cool. Up next, he comes with his accessory holding hands and his very large spear. And this has some really cool sculpt detail to it. It has a little bit of wood grain sculpt to it with some black painted on lines. The black painted on lines in between the wrappings right here, that looks really good. And on the back you can see it's serrated right here. And he just looks so cool with this. That's why I said I'm not sure how I want to display the figure. I feel like this is honestly a case where you should probably buy two. That way you can have one displayed as Shredder and then one as Krang Shredder. Up next you get the Shredder head sculpt. And this looks really cool. I love the black painted on lines there. You can see that this one got painted on a little bit cockeyed, and then it corrected itself. You can see where the line meets up right there. But other than that, the black painted on lines came out really clean. I like the reflection there on his mouthpiece. That looks really good. This is a really cool looking head sculpt. And finally, you get the Krang head sculpt. Well, I suppose this could also double as a separate figure from Shredder, because he actually has articulation. But man, NECA painted him very well. All of the black painted on lines look really good. You get veins painted in red on each side of his head, or body, I guess you'd say. And his tendrils actually have ball joints in them, so you can actually pose them around. They swivel, the left one's kind of tight. You can hear how tight it is. But this right one moves very nicely. This one moves all the way around too. It's just a little bit more stiff. So yeah, NECA did a fantastic job on that. And like I said, if you want, you can just display Shredder like that and then have this as a separate figure, or you can place his head on there. And I'm not sure how I like it better, because I think this just looks very absurd and cool at the same time. I think NECA did a really good job at bringing this design from the comics to life. So taking a look at the rest of this figure, he's actually quite bulky. He's a lot bulkier than I thought he'd be. He's not too much taller than the animated Shredder figure, but he's quite bulky. And NECA did a really awesome job at painting him. All the cel-shaded lines came out really clean. I love how they added the shading on his armor right here. That blue shading, the light blue. That looks really cool. We get this fabric cape, and it drapes really nicely on the figure. I definitely wish it would have been wired, but since it's not, it does lay really nicely on the figure, and I can't complain too much. I'm pretty sure this is probably the exact same pattern that they used for the animated Shredder, because the cape, the way it's sewn and everything looks the same. The collars are slightly different from that one, but yeah, the pattern that they used for this is probably the same because of the way it looks. It does kind of bother me that the painted on lines for his abs right here don't quite line up. There is actually a swivel right down in here, but mine was fused together. I did try to pry it apart, but like the plastic is glued down. So yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be like that on all of them, but it looked like a joint that should move. But at least this joint up here moves really nicely. I suppose I really don't need it since he can move so well up here at this diaphragm joint. Not only did NECA do a really good job at painting the black lines on right here on the straps on his forearm armor, but there's also a swivel right here. It's hidden very well because of the way it's sculpted and painted. I honestly thought these didn't have any movement here. But yeah, they do actually swivel side to side. NECA hid that very well. The loincloth also gets some really good black detailing to it. And then with the shin armor, just like with the shoulder armor, I love that little light blue shading you get there. I think that looks fantastic, as well as all of the outline in black right there. Now on the right side, it's glued down very well, and you can see that it's starting to come out on this side, so I am going to have to put a touch of glue on that to attach it. And just like with the forearm articulation right there, he does have a swivel down here at the shin, and it's hidden really well because of the way it's sculpted and painted. I still can't get over how well this is sculpted and painted. This is my first Archie TMNT figure, and I'm blown away by it. NECA just did a very cool job on this. And you do get peg holes on his feet if you want a stand to stand him up. So now, let's go ahead and go over his articulation. So with the Krang head on, he can look up just about all the way. He can look down all the way. He can move his head side to side, all the way around, and then you get those ball-jointed tendrils like I mentioned. With the regular Shredder head sculpt on, he can look up all the way, down all the way, side to side very nicely, and all the way around. He has ball-jointed shoulders that can move out all the way. These shoulder pads are very soft material, so they don't hinder the articulation in any way. He has a swivel at the bicep that can move side to side. He has double-jointed elbows. So this is weird. They feel like they're ratcheted, but they move so well. Usually ratcheted joints are very hindered. But yeah, this actually moves really well. I was surprised at how well they move despite feeling like they have ratchets in them. He has swivel at the forearm. On these accessory holding hands, he has hinges that can move up and down and side to side. He has a ball-jointed diaphragm that can move back that far, down just about all the way. This is pretty soft, so it really doesn't hinder. Side to side very nicely, and all the way around. He has ball-jointed hips that can't quite do a complete split. He can't quite kick forward all the way. I am just a little bit disappointed in the articulation on the hips right here. He can kick back very slightly. He has a very slight thigh swivel. Double jointed knees that, just like with elbows, feel kind of ratcheted but move really well. Swivel at the shin. Swivel ankles that can move down all the way, up all the way, and nice ankle rockers. So now, let's do some size comparisons. So first up, here he is next to the animated series Shredder figure. The only thing that's reused from this is the cape. As I said, the cape is slightly darker, so it is a different kind of material, but the pattern that they used had to be the same. Here they are next to the animated Krang. Here he is next to the Pizza Club Leonardo and Raphael. And finally, here he is next to the Pizza Club Donatello and Michelangelo. So overall, I would highly recommend picking this Krang Shredder figure up because NECA did a fantastic job on this. This is my first Archie NECA figure, and I am very surprised by it. I just love everything about it. The articulation, the size, the accessories, the paintwork, just everything on it is very awesome. And I know it'll change later in the year, but so far out of the figures I've bought this year, this one is definitely my favorite. The only real complaint I have with this, and it's not really a complaint, is we didn't get an unmasked and slimed Shredder head. I really wish we would have got that. But like I said, that's a minor complaint. Other than that, NECA did a fantastic job on this, and I would definitely recommend picking this up. So that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.